CS nominee, we just start maybe from where you stopped on Kenya Airways and ask you, we have listened to such stories. I think I've listened to those stories about KQ since I joined Parliament 12 years ago. I just want to be direct. Are we going to listen to that story from the next nominee after you? Or how long should you be approved? Will you commit to the people of Kenya that you can be able to sort out the problems of Kenya Airways? Because as you say, it's true, they are on operating profit, but when you factor in their financing costs, then they make huge losses. And then the story goes on and on and on and on forever. So you may need to tell us whether you truly mean business. Should you be approved, and how long it will take us to see a Kenya Airways that is truly functional, profitable, and is giving value to the people of Kenya. Because even nationalizing it, if you do not give value to the people of Kenya, then it may not make sense. That being so, you have been Cabinet Secretary for Energy, and you were at the time we did the famous G2G in the oil industry. You tell us how beneficial that G2G was. Was it beneficial to the country, or was it on net terms a loss to us in terms of the oil prices and all the other issues that Kenyans raise about the G2G? And more so in view of the current conversation. You've seen Kenyans online saying that the airport has been sold. Far from it, from what we hear, and negotiations on PPP framework with the Adani Airport Holdings Limited. Are you the man to run this PPP with Adani or any other interested private equity partner that may come in? And can the people of Kenya trust that you will do it for value, for good value to the people of Kenya, if G2G was not of value to the people of Kenya? I say if, because to be consequential to your first answer on G2G on oil. And maybe you would take a bit of time to tell us what you have been able to dig in your briefs from the ministry. I'm certain you've gotten briefs from the ministry on this Adani Airports Holdings PPP engagements, the engagements that are there. Lastly, just to add to what Honorable Kosing was saying, yes, the framework is there for leveraging on the RMLF funds on roads, but as you rightly say, with the programs that we are on and our debt ceiling, that may not be an option, a viable option for now, so you may need to really think out of the box in terms of funding our roads projects. Thank you.
Davis, try and compress the answers.
Thank you, Chair. I think KQ is, it needs, like I said, there'll be quick wins. There'll be the low-hanging fruits, like I said. I would like to sit down with the staffers and address this challenge in KQ, which I could easily call the low-hanging fruits, but which has really been a major pain in KQ, the industrial relations. We need to have ownership of the entire management and staff of KQ to understand the challenge and that we need to get out of it, because somebody else cannot be paying for our lunch and we just have the lunch. Those are some of the quick wins. Some of the more difficult things which I think have been addressed are those expensive leases, on the 7 leases, where the cost and the revenues are really challenged. And again, we are having to rely on government to pay on behalf. But as it were, KQ, like we'll all have to agree, from an aviation perspective, is a very strategic asset. So it will be one thing to sit down and first things first. What are the low-hanging fruits? What do we need to address? And what kind of ownership? So it's a leadership issue. We really need to address that. One thing which I'm going to put alongside KQ, G2G, and Adani, and I did prepare the challenge that the country faced in the last 4 weeks in terms of how we work, is the aspect of communication and carrying the Kenyans together with us. Article 35 of the Constitution, and I did make a record of that so that I don't fumble around, where every citizen has the right to information. And in Article 69, it talks to public participation in the environment. In 118, it talks to public participation in facilitating public participation in involvement and in the legislative process, public participation in the National Assembly and in the county government in Article 196. And in the finance area, Chapter 12, it talks about there shall be openness and accountability, including participation in financial matters. Chair, I think as government, we feel like information can only be given out when we have been pushed to give information. The public participation is articulated in the Constitution and in the act that has been in Parliament to basically actualize how public participation should be conducted, and which is causing a pain today, including the ruling that we just had the previous day, is something that we need to carry Kenyans as we do some of the things we do, like in Adani, in Kenya Airways, or in G2G. Because G2G was a fairly complex and a quick solution required to address the challenge of the time. But we're trying to explain today, even to members of Parliament, to understand something that was built over a period of 4 months. If we carried everybody along in public participation so that they understand every step as we go forward, we wouldn't be facing the kind of challenges we are facing today. So there'll be need to inculcate public participation from inception as we carry the programs forward, so that we are together with Kenyans at every stage. Of course, how that is done is something that we'll need to really work on. So really, I think we really need to address the challenge that we find ourselves doing what we believe is right for the country, but the population do not quite understand because we did not carry them along the whole journey. The G2G story, Honorable Kimani Ichungwa, through the chair, I think was a great success for this country. At a time when we came out of COVID, at a time when the Ukraine war was a big challenge, and the inflation rate was soaring at a high of 9%, including in the US and Canada. A very tight monetary policy running even today at 5.25% to 5.5%. And the dollars would rather be in soft trading as opposed to trading with risk. Everybody was basically earning more money, taking their money to the bank. And a situation which did not only affect Kenya, in fact in the tea industry, we were not selling our tea because there was no dollars out there. It was a global crisis. Let me then answer the point.
Avoid the temptation to give a lecture.
Yeah.
Answer questions.
Agreed. Yes. The G2G chair was brought in to forestall the challenge of unavailability of the US dollars in the industry. And we did build a very quick solution to ensure that the country would not run dry. We could be able to purchase petroleum, pay Kenya shillings, on a deferred LCs, which would be confirmed by international AAA or what you would call investment grade banks over the local issued LCs, and be able to get the product and pay later when the situation improves. It has worked very well. I think we have today brought in over 100 cargoes. We have in account dollars in excess of $3 billion over this. And I think today, if not for G2G, like when we went to elections, chair, in April, May 2022, MPs will recall carrying jerry cans around the country looking for fuel to run their campaigns because there were no dollars to buy petroleum products. As regarding Adani, so G2G was great. I think it is something, Chair, when there is time and I write my book, it will be one of my legacy delivery to this country. Adani.
You know, you're being guided by the chair to avoid giving lectures, because the straight answer was the dollar was at 160 something.
And
part of the benefits of that is
at 130 today. Thank you.
130 today.
Thank you.
Fuel prices, the prices were trading at then, and what they would have gone.
With respect to Adani, Chair, we look at Adani. We'll need, like I opened by saying, public participation, provide information, have a framework in terms of what you would call term sheets, in terms of what is the correct return on investment when we are bringing a PPP. If we agree that the return on investment is 12 to 15% internal rate of return, if we agree on the debt equity ratio, we should be able to really get Kenyans to understand, get everyone to understand, is Adani a deal we should do? Is it going to help Kenya? Vis-a-vis what I just said, this is an off-balance sheet upgrade of Kenya Airports Authority. If we can't do it as a government, can we allow a private sector player to do it on reasonable but competitive cost or return on capital? Thank you, Chair.
Ned.
Thank you, Chairman and Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to start